Stop waiting for someone to choose you. You are not on sale. You're not an option. You are the prize. So here's the truth. The moment you love yourself more than anyone else, that's the moment the world starts to fall in love with you too. Ladies, stop shrinking yourself for people who can't handle your shine. We grow up learning how to love others, how to please them, how to be kind, how to fit in. But they forget to teach us one thing: how to love ourselves first. And let me tell you, that kind of love, it's not soft. It's fierce. It's magnetic. And it changes everything. You see, the world will always try to convince you that you're not enough. Not thin enough. Not pretty enough. Not sweet enough. Not quiet enough. But here's the twist. You were never meant to be enough for them. That's power. When you say no without guilt, that's confidence. When you don't chase love, but attract it by being unapologetically yourself, that's queen energy. Stop measuring your worth by how much someone else texts you back or how loud they cheer for you. Your worth is not a group vote. It's a solo decision. So from today, don't just be in love. Be in love with yourself. Talk to yourself the way you talk to someone you admire. Protect your peace like it's designer. Walk like the universe is obsessed with you. Because honestly, it should be. Because when you fall in love with you, you stop begging for love from others. You attract better. You demand better. When you learn to love yourself, you automatically set the standard for how others should treat you. It's like walking into a room and everyone immediately noticing your confidence, your strength, your radiance, and your boundaries. You see, when you love yourself, you're not begging for validation from others. You're already giving it to yourself. You're already holding yourself to a higher standard. And anyone who interacts with you will naturally align with that energy. They'll either rise to meet your standard or they'll exit your life. And trust me, that's power. Imagine walking into a room where you're the most important person in your life. Not because you're arrogant or egotistical, but because you've spent time building yourself up. You've realized that the only person whose opinion truly matters is the one staring back at you in the mirror. When you set the standard, by loving yourself, you're telling the universe, I will accept nothing less than what I'm worthy of. No one can treat you like a second choice when you've already chosen yourself first. Think about this. When you enter any relationship, whether it's romantic, familial, or even professional, what do you think the other person sees first? They see how you treat yourself. If you're constantly undermining your own worth, doubting yourself, and accepting crumbs when you deserve a feast, others will reflect that back to you. But when you love yourself fiercely, others take notice. It's a powerful kind of energy that commands respect. You don't need to tell anyone how to treat you. They just know, because your actions speak louder than any words you could say. Let's look at a real-life example. Imagine someone who's always been self-conscious about their appearance. They constantly seek compliments, constantly look for reassurance, and always bend over backwards to make sure everyone else is comfortable, even at the cost of their own happiness. Now imagine that person one day waking up and deciding, today I will love myself, flaws and all. I will not seek approval from anyone. The next time they step into a room, they stand tall, they speak with confidence, and their presence shifts the entire atmosphere. That's because when you choose to love yourself, you decide to hold yourself to a higher standard than anyone else could ever imagine. You no longer bend to fit someone else's idea of who you should be. You become unapologetically you. and the world starts to adapt to your energy. Another example is in the workplace. Think about a woman who walks into her office every day, owning her space, walking with purpose, and speaking with authority. She doesn't wait for permission to be successful. She doesn't apologize for her achievements or dim her light to make others feel comfortable. She knows her worth. And the moment she starts setting that standard, others begin to treat her accordingly. The people who didn't take her seriously before are now in awe of her. The respect that she radiates is a reflection of the love she's cultivated for herself. She's not afraid to ask for what she deserves because she believes in her own value. Self-love doesn't mean being perfect. It doesn't mean you have it all together. But it means that you're not willing to settle for less than what you're capable of. It means you're not afraid to speak your mind, to protect your peace, and to walk away from situations that don't honor your worth. You don't need to settle for mediocrity when you know you deserve greatness. The truth is, setting the standard is a form of self-respect. It's about drawing clear lines and saying, I will not tolerate this, and I will not accept that. People may test those boundaries, they may try to break them, but once you've established your standard, once you've taught others how to treat you, they'll learn fast. They'll either step up or they'll step out. But here's the thing. When they step out, they're making room for people who understand your value. When you set the standard by loving yourself first, you're not just doing it for you. You're doing it for everyone around you. You're setting an example of what real self-love looks like. You're showing others that they too deserve the same level of respect, the same level of love. You're creating a ripple effect. And when you start showing up for yourself, you inspire everyone else to do the same. You'll be amazed at how people start to treat you with more respect, more admiration, and more love. So remember, when you love yourself, you're not waiting for anyone else to define your worth. You've already defined it. And anyone who wants to be in your life will have to rise to meet that standard. Confidence becomes effortless when you realize that it's not something you need to chase or fake. Confidence is an energy, a presence, a way of being that flows naturally when you fully embrace who you are. It doesn't come from external validation or from waiting for someone else to approve of you. It comes from understanding your worth and deciding to show up every single day as the best version of yourself. Imagine waking up in the morning and not needing to check how you look or what others think about you. That's the kind of effortless confidence I'm talking about. Think about how different your day would feel if you didn't question yourself before speaking up in a meeting, or wonder if your outfit is good enough to be seen in public. You don't have to perform for anyone. You're already enough. That's the mindset that breeds true, effortless confidence. Let's take a moment to think about an athlete who's at the peak of their career. Someone who's always in the spotlight, constantly under pressure. They've trained for years, faced countless obstacles, and put in more hours than most people can even comprehend. Yet, when they step onto the field, court, or stage, there's this calm assurance in their eyes. They've reached a place where their confidence is second nature. It doesn't matter what the scoreboard says or if they miss a shot. They know what they're capable of, and that belief is so ingrained in them that it no longer requires any effort. Their confidence isn't about being perfect, it's about knowing their value even in the midst of failure. It's effortless because they no longer seek approval from others. They trust themselves. Every game they play, every performance they give is an expression of that trust. Think about someone walking into a room full of strangers. For most people, this moment can trigger anxiety, uncertainty, and self-doubt. But imagine someone who walks in with their head held high, shoulders back, and a smile that doesn't need to be forced. They don't worry about being judged or rejected. Why? Because they know that their worth doesn't depend on others' perceptions. This is effortless confidence. It's not about impressing people. It's about owning who you are and knowing that you have a place in this world, regardless of who's around you. Now picture a job interview. The typical scenario is one where candidates stress over their qualifications, wondering if they'll impress the interviewer or be good enough. But there's one person in the room who stands out. Not because they have more experience or a perfect resume, but because they exude calm and assurance. They answer every question confidently, even if they don't know every detail. Why? Because they know that no matter what happens, they are enough. They are qualified, they are capable, and they believe in themselves. Their confidence doesn't come from having all the answers, but from knowing that they can figure things out. Their confidence is effortless because it comes from an unwavering belief in their abilities, regardless of the situation. Confidence becomes effortless when you stop trying to prove something. There's a point in every person's journey where they realize they don't need to be perfect to be worthy. They don't need to be the smartest, the most successful, or the most liked. They don't need to jump through hoops to gain acceptance. They simply need to be themselves. When you get to this point, confidence flows from within. It becomes a quiet certainty. You stop questioning yourself at every turn, and instead, you make decisions based on what feels right for you, without second-guessing or seeking external validation. You've reached a level of self-assurance, where you trust your instincts and know that you are enough just as you are. You see, this effortless confidence is contagious. People who exude it draw others in, not because they try to, but because they radiate a kind of self-respect and self-love that others can't help but admire. It's magnetic. It's attractive. People don't look at them and think, I wish I could be like them. They think, I want to be around them because they make me feel good about myself. It's a kind of quiet power that makes others want to be better, to rise to the same level of self-assurance and peace that person holds. It's not loud or brash. It's a calm, confident presence that says, I know who I am and I am okay with it. This kind of confidence is rooted in knowing that you are already complete, just as you are. There is nothing you need to add or change to be worthy of love, success, or happiness. When you fully embrace this truth, confidence flows naturally. It becomes effortless because you no longer need to prove anything to anyone. You simply show up in all your authenticity, knowing that you are enough. When you stop chasing love, you realize that love is not something you have to run after, something you have to beg for, or something that depends on someone else. True love, the kind that is unwavering and unconditional, starts with you. The moment you stop chasing, you begin attracting. You no longer need to prove yourself or convince anyone that you deserve love. You know you do because you are loved. And that realization, it shifts everything. Imagine a woman who spends years chasing affection, constantly trying to get someone to choose her, whether it's a partner, a friend, or even family members. She bends over backward, changing herself, compromising her values, and putting her needs last, all in the hopes of receiving love in return. She's always giving, always waiting, always hoping for someone to give her the love she's giving to them. But the moment she stops chasing, everything changes. She stands still, breathes in her own worth, and no longer seeks validation from anyone else. She begins to realize that love doesn't come from a person, a title, or external circumstances. It's already inside her. She doesn't need to chase it because she embodies it. This is the moment when love begins to flow to her effortlessly. In life, many of us have been taught that love is something we should pursue. We're told to chase after it, to fight for it, to make sacrifices in the name of it. But this creates a toxic pattern of always feeling incomplete, always feeling like we need someone else to fill the gaps inside of us. We forget that we are whole, exactly as we are. Love doesn't exist outside of us. It begins with self-love, with the understanding that you don't need to chase anyone or anything to feel loved and valued. The moment you stop running, you start standing tall in your worth. And that's when love finds you. Let's take the example of a person constantly waiting for their phone to ring, wondering if the person they're interested in will call. They stay up late, reread old text messages, and check their phone every few minutes, hoping for a message that will make them feel seen, wanted, and loved. Every time the phone doesn't ring, they feel a little emptier. But what if, instead of waiting, they chose to focus on their own growth, their own happiness, and their own peace of mind? When you stop chasing, you stop depending on others for your happiness. You no longer feel the need to wait for someone else's love to make you whole. And when you stop looking for external validation, love finds you in ways you never expected. Now imagine a situation in a workplace where someone is constantly trying to please their boss or colleagues. They are always saying yes, taking on extra work, doing everything to be liked and appreciated. They seek approval in every interaction, thinking that their worth is defined by the validation they receive from others. They're chasing a sense of belonging, but in doing so, they lose themselves in the process. The moment they stop chasing the approval of others, they start showing up as their authentic self. They no longer feel the need to do things that align with their own values and vision. They stop chasing love or validation outside of themselves and begin creating a life that feels true to them. And in that shift, they find that the respect and admiration they were chasing begin to follow them naturally. When you stop chasing love, you stop giving your power away. You no longer feel the need to beg for affection or constantly prove your worth. Instead, you live in the certainty that you are worthy of love just as you are. And that shifts the dynamic entirely. People will notice the change in you. They'll stop seeing you as someone who is desperate for attention or approval and start seeing you as someone who commands respect, someone who knows their worth and isn't afraid to show it. When you stop chasing, love comes to you because you're no longer seeking it from a place of scarcity. You're no longer trying to fill a void. You're already whole. There's a certain power in choosing to be loved for who you are without needing to chase it. Think about a person who has finally learned to love themselves so deeply that they no longer feel the need to seek external love to feel validated. They go about their day with grace, with an inner peace that radiates outwards. They no longer settle for relationships that don't serve them, and they no longer waste time on people who don't value them. When you stop chasing love, you stop wasting energy on people who aren't ready to give you the love you deserve. You stop compromising your standards, and instead, you start attracting the kind of love that is worthy of you. You stop compromising your standards, and instead you start attracting the kind of love that is worthy of you. You stop compromising your standards, and instead you start attracting the kind of love that is worthy of you. When you stop chasing love, you open the door to receiving love in the most authentic, fulfilling, and unconditional way possible. You stop trying to make someone see your worth because you already know it. You stop asking for validation because you've already validated yourself. And when you stop chasing, you stop running away from the most important thing in your life, the love and acceptance that begins with you. Self-respect becomes your superpower when you realize that it is the foundation of everything you do, the core of who you are. It is the ultimate armor that protects you from the harshness of the world. When you truly respect yourself, no one can make you feel inferior, unworthy, or less than. You become unshakable in your belief that you deserve to be treated with dignity and kindness. And that belief radiates from you in every interaction. Imagine a woman walking into a room full of influential people, knowing that she doesn't need anyone's approval. She isn't concerned with impressing others or winning their favor. She's already given herself the validation she needs. Her self-respect stands tall in the way she carries herself. She speaks with confidence, stands tall, and commands respect, not because she's trying to, but because she simply knows her worth. Self-respect is her superpower. It's the invisible force that empowers her to take on challenges and stand firm in her beliefs, even when the odds seem stacked against her. In everyday life, we often find ourselves in situations where we are asked to compromise our values or shrink ourselves to fit into someone else's expectations. But when you respect yourself, you draw a line that no one can cross. Self-respect doesn't mean being arrogant or self-absorbed. It means having clear boundaries and refusing to accept anything less than what you deserve. For example, think about someone who's in a toxic relationship. For years, they've tolerated behavior that undermines their worth, whether it's emotional manipulation, disrespect, or neglect. But the moment they recognize their self-worth and the value of their own happiness, they draw a line. They say, I will not tolerate this any longer. That's when self-respect becomes their superpower. They break free from the toxic cycle, not because they are angry, but because they finally understand the power of respecting themselves. Take a person who has been constantly overlooked at work, passed over for promotions, or ignored in meetings. For a long time, they've internalized the belief that they are not good enough, or that their voice doesn't matter. But the moment they choose to stand up for themselves, speak their truth, and demand the respect they deserve, everything changes. Self-respect is the quiet force that fuels their confidence. When they speak, their words carry weight. When they walk into the room, they do so with the unshakable belief that they deserve a seat at the table. It's not a loud declaration. It's the unspoken energy that others feel when they're in your presence. That's the power of self-respect. It makes you magnetic. Self-respect also teaches you to never settle for less than you deserve. Many times in life we settle because we fear being alone or we believe we're not worthy of better. We stay in relationships that drain us. We accept jobs that don't fulfill us. And we live lives that don't align with our dreams. But when you respect yourself, you stop settling. You start choosing situations and people that uplift you. For instance, imagine a person in a job that constantly drains them, where they're undervalued and overworked. One day, they look in the mirror and realize they've spent too much time sacrificing their happiness for a paycheck. They choose to respect themselves enough to look for something better, to walk away from environments that no longer serve their growth. That's the moment when self-respect becomes the driving force behind their actions. Self-respect allows you to walk away from situations that don't honor your worth. It empowers you to say no when something doesn't align with your values, even if it means disappointing others. Think about the person who's invited to an event where they know they'll be treated poorly or made to feel like they don't belong. In the past, they may have gone, hoping to fit in or make others happy. But now, they know better. Now they understand that their time and energy are too valuable to waste on anything that diminishes their self-worth. So they say no. They choose themselves, and that choice is an expression of their self-respect. When you respect yourself, you stop giving others the power to define your worth. You no longer rely on external validation or approval to feel good about yourself. Think of a person who's constantly seeking praise, constantly looking for others to affirm their abilities or appearance. They live for the next compliment or like, never feeling truly fulfilled. But the moment they decide that their validation comes from within, everything changes. Their self-respect becomes a shield against the world's judgment. It doesn't matter if someone praises them or criticizes them, because they know who they are and they know their worth. When you respect yourself, you don't need to chase love, success, or approval. These things come naturally because the energy you give off is one of confidence, peace, and strength. You attract people who appreciate you for who you are, not because you've sought them out, but because you've shown the world that you value yourself enough to not settle for anything less than the best. Self-respect is magnetic. It draws people and opportunities to you because it is rooted in the understanding that you are enough, just as you are. Ultimately, self-respect becomes your superpower because it unlocks a life where you no longer seek permission to be who you are. It gives you the courage to live authentically, to speak your truth, and to never settle for anything that doesn't honor your worth. When you respect yourself, you are unstoppable. You are a force of nature. And there is nothing, absolutely nothing, that can stand in your way. When you become magnetic, you shift from being someone who is constantly seeking validation to someone who naturally attracts people, opportunities, and success. It's the kind of energy that cannot be faked because it comes from a deep, unshakable self-awareness and confidence. It's not about looking for admiration or approval. It's about cultivating an energy that draws everything you want directly to you. People are drawn to your authenticity, your strength, your unwavering belief in yourself. You stop chasing. You stop begging for attention. And suddenly the world starts noticing you, not because you're trying to get their attention, but because your energy is undeniable. Imagine a woman walking into a room full of people. She's not the loudest or the flashiest person in the room, but there's something about her that grabs everyone's attention. It's not her clothes or her outward appearance, but the way she carries herself. She's at peace with who she is. She walks with confidence, speaks with purpose, and every movement she makes exudes self-respect. People can't help but be drawn to her because she's radiating an energy that says, I know my worth. She's magnetic because she's not seeking validation from anyone else. She's already validated herself. That magnetic energy isn't something you can fake. It's the result of years of believing in your own value, of choosing yourself before anyone else. Let's take another example. A person who has spent their life constantly looking for approval from others. They find themselves in situations where they try to please people, whether it's their boss, their friends, or even strangers, because they crave external validation. But as soon as they stop trying to win others over and start focusing on being true to themselves, everything shifts. They stop worrying about what others think of them. They stop seeking approval. And in turn, they start attracting people who appreciate them for who they truly are. They become magnetic, not because they're seeking it, but because their energy is now authentic. Their presence, no longer dependent on others, becomes a beacon for people who value authenticity and confidence. The magnetic power of self-assurance shows up in your daily life too. Think of someone in a social setting, perhaps a dinner party or gathering. At first, they're quiet, reserved, just observing. They're not trying to make an impression. They're simply present. But as the night progresses, people begin to gravitate toward them. Not because they're trying to be the center of attention, but because their quiet strength is magnetic. They don't chase the spotlight comes to them. It's the power of being centered in yourself. People are drawn to the energy of someone who is not trying to be something they're not. There's a magnetic quality to that authenticity. This magnetism doesn't just apply to social situations, it also translates into your career. Think of someone who has been working tirelessly in a job, doing everything right, but never receiving the recognition they deserve. Now imagine that person decides to stop seeking approval, to stop pushing themselves to get noticed. Instead, they focus on doing their work with passion, excellence, and integrity. They stop trying to impress others and instead impress themselves. What happens? They start to attract opportunities. People notice them not because they're trying to climb the ladder, but because they've become so good at what they do that they stand out effortlessly. Their magnetic energy isn't about forcing success. It's about letting their work and their passion speak for themselves. This magnetic energy also applies in relationships. Many people chase after love, seeking someone to validate their worth or to fill a void. But the moment you stop chasing, something incredible happens. You start attracting the right people, not those who want to change you, not those who want to control you, but people who appreciate you exactly as you are. The more you focus on loving yourself and valuing your own happiness, the more others are drawn to your light. This magnetism is powerful. It doesn't come from neediness or desperation. It comes from being in alignment with who you are and what you want. When you no longer chase love, love finds you naturally. The true magic happens when you realize that magnetism isn't about changing who you are to fit someone's expectations. It's about fully embracing who you are and letting the world come to you. You stop playing small to fit in and you start stepping into your power, unapologetically. This transformation doesn't happen overnight. But when it does, you'll notice how much more you attract without even trying. The right people will gravitate toward you. Opportunities will present themselves in ways you never imagined. And most importantly, you'll find that your life begins to shift in ways that feel aligned with your true purpose because you've stopped chasing and started being the person you were always meant to be. People who are magnetic don't beg for attention. They don't hustle for recognition. They simply show up as their authentic selves, knowing that they are enough, just as they are. That magnetic energy you carry is a reflection of your belief in your own worth, and the world can feel it. So, if you want to be magnetic, stop trying to win others over. Focus on being the best version of yourself. Live authentically, unapologetically, and most importantly, trust that the right people, opportunities, and successes will find you when you stop chasing and start being. When you learn to love yourself more than anyone else, you unlock a healing power that is beyond anything you've ever experienced. The pain you feel, whether emotional or physical, doesn't hold you back. When you begin to truly nurture yourself, something incredible happens. You heal faster. It's not about ignoring the pain or pretending it doesn't exist, but instead understanding that you have the power to heal yourself from within. Imagine a person who has been through the most heart-wrenching breakup of their life. For weeks, they are consumed by sorrow, bitterness, and self-doubt. But then, something shifts. Instead of clinging to their grief, they turn inward. They take the time to reconnect with themselves. They start practicing self-love, whether it's through affirmations, journaling, meditation, or simply taking care of their physical health. As they focus on their own well-being, they begin to realize that their worth is not defined by the relationship they lost. The healing process begins not because the pain goes away immediately, but because they are no longer relying on someone else to validate their existence. They begin to heal faster because they've found a way to soothe their own heart, to comfort themselves without needing external sources of reassurance. Take the example of someone recovering from a traumatic event. They may feel scarred, both mentally and emotionally. But what if they stop blaming themselves or others for the situation? What if instead they focused on understanding their emotions and learning to love themselves through it? The healing process would be completely different. They would no longer feel stuck in the pain, but rather they would feel empowered by their ability to rise above it. Every time they choose self-love over self-pity, they move one step closer to healing. And over time, this process becomes easier. The more they give themselves the space to heal, the faster they recover. Consider someone who has been carrying the weight of past mistakes, feeling guilt and regret that they can't shake off. They may believe they don't deserve forgiveness, that they must punish themselves for what they've done. But when they start to practice self-compassion, when they begin to forgive themselves, something shifts. Healing happens because they stop holding on to their past. They let go of the story they've been telling themselves about their mistakes. When you learn to love yourself, you begin to break free from the chains of your past, allowing yourself to heal at a pace that would have seemed impossible before. The road to recovery doesn't seem so long anymore because you found peace within yourself. It's the same with physical health. When you're sick or injured, the physical pain is undeniable. But how you treat yourself during recovery can dramatically affect how quickly you heal. Imagine someone who is recovering from an injury, whether it's a broken bone or a serious illness. They could focus solely on the discomfort and frustration of being unable to do things the way they did before. Or they could focus on nourishing their body with proper nutrition, exercising gently when possible, and giving themselves the grace to rest when needed. In this process, healing happens not just on a physical level, but on an emotional one as well. When you practice self-love, you show up for yourself. You take care of your body, not out of obligation, but out of a deep love and respect for it. And in turn, your body responds by healing faster. A person who truly understands their worth doesn't just accept the pain as something to endure. They see it as something temporary, something they have the power to move through. The ability to heal faster comes from a place of inner strength, a place that says, I am worthy of peace and recovery. So they understand that their body and mind are resilient. When you love yourself, you stop seeing healing as a battle. Instead, you see it as a process that you can actively participate in by caring for yourself in a way that allows the pain to pass more swiftly. The key here is that self-love doesn't mean you'll never experience pain or hardship. It simply means that when those challenges arise, you have the strength and resilience to face them head on. You give yourself permission to heal. You understand that you're not defined by your scars, and you no longer allow the weight of your past experiences to hinder your recovery. By choosing to heal through self-love, you create a powerful force field around yourself that accelerates the process. Healing, whether emotional, mental, or physical, is a journey, but it becomes a much easier one when you're walking it with love. When you stop seeking validation, when you stop giving away your power to external circumstances, you start the most profound healing process possible. In this journey of life, you will face moments that challenge you, test your strength, and break you down. And unfortunately, accompanied journey and encompass all your creation. In the moment you prepare yourself for the challenge in your life, but I want you to understand one thing. Nothing, absolutely nothing in this world has the power to break you unless you let it. You are the architect of your life, and your greatest power lies in the ability to rise again and again, no matter how many times life knocks you down. Your story is not about the pain you've endured. It's about the strength you found within yourself to overcome it. You see, when you learn to love yourself more than anyone else, you discover an inner power that no one can take away from you. It's a power that comes from knowing that no matter the circumstances, you are worthy of all the love, success, and happiness this world has to offer. It's a power that comes from understanding that you are the key to your own healing, your own happiness, and your own success. The road to greatness is never easy. But let me tell you this. Greatness isn't defined by how many times you succeed. It's defined by how many times you rise after you fall. It's about the strength to get up, dust yourself off, and keep moving forward, even when it feels impossible. Every setback, every challenge, every heartbreak is simply a stepping stone on your path to becoming the best version of yourself. So when life tries to pull you down, remember that you have the power to stand tall, to push forward, and to shine brighter than ever before. Don't let anyone or anything define your worth. The only person who gets to decide your value is you. Never let the opinions or judgments of others sway you from the truth of who you are. You are not defined by your mistakes. You are not defined by your past. You are defined by your willingness to rise above, to keep moving, and to love yourself fiercely in the process. This world will try to make you believe that you need external validation, that you need someone else's approval to feel worthy. But I'm here to tell you that the only approval you need is your own. You are enough, just as you are. And when you truly believe that, when you truly embrace that truth, everything in your life will begin to change. The people you attract, the opportunities that come your way, the love you give and receive. Everything will shift. You will no longer be chasing after approval. You will no longer be seeking validation. Instead, you will be magnetic. You will become the person that others are naturally drawn to. Not because you need them to love you, but because you love yourself fully and unconditionally. The moment you realize that you are enough, that you are worthy, that you are powerful, is the moment your life transforms. You stop chasing love because you've already found it within yourself. You stop seeking external sources of happiness because you've discovered that happiness comes from within. You stop playing small because you know that you were born for greatness. Now, I want you to take a moment to look inside yourself. Ask yourself, am I ready to step into my power? Am I ready to embrace who I truly am and love myself unconditionally? The answer, I hope, is a resounding yes. Because the world is waiting for you. The world is waiting for you to show up, to stand tall, to be unapologetically you.